Welcome to homework.
All right. So we've got two transition metal complex ions, and we need to figure out which of them has a D3 electronic configuration. So let's begin with the nickel pentahydrate or hexahydrate, which has a positive 2, not 3, it's a positive 2 charge. How do we figure out what the configuration of this nickel is? All right. Well, first, let's consider what the oxidation state of the nickel is. Now, we're kind of lucky here. I forgot the 6 there. And that water is neutral, right? So water isn't adding any negative or positive charge, right? So this 2 plus being the sum of the charges on nickel and the water is all coming from nickel because the waters have 0 charge. Water is neutral, right? It's neutral. The nickel then must be 2 plus. That's where this 2 plus is coming from. It's a nickel 2 plus with 6 neutral waters around. In fact, the same is true of our cobalt. Cobalt with 6 neutral waters, summing to 2 plus, which means that cobalt is 2 plus. So we're really comparing nickel 2 plus and cobalt 2 plus. Now, at this point, we really just have to reference the periodic table, which is why they're telling us that nickel and cobalt are elements 28 and 27, respectively, right? So if we consider what the electron configuration of neutral nickel would be, we can then figure out what the electron configuration of nickel 2 plus is, right? So that's exactly what we need to do. So the electron configuration for nickel, because it is element 28, is going to have an argon shell. And then it is, in this case, 4s2 and 3d8. Okay, and our nickel, sorry, that's for nickel. And the cobalt is going to be argon shell, 3d7, 4s. Well, in either case, these s electrons are going to be what comes out when we create our nickel 2 plus. Should have an argon shell, 3d8. And our cobalt 2 plus is going to have an argon shell with 3d7. Right. In each case, the 4s electrons are higher in energy than the 3d electrons, so those are what are going to come out first. Something is wrong here. I'm guessing, given that this keeps saying atomic number of chromium down below, so maybe let me. I think there's been an issue with this problem. Let me save this image and import it so you can see what I'm talking about. Chromium. Great. Where did it go? Try that again. Right. So this isn't one of the options, but the question keeps mentioning chromium, which coincidentally is exactly what we want. Right? Because chromium is argon shell 3d5 4s1, right? And this is the instance in which we could lose 2 electrons from our D shell to give. Even then, we would lose 1 from the 4s and 1 from the 3d. We wouldn't lose. This would end up being chromium 2 plus should end up being chromium 3d4. So there is an error in this question. The answer isn't nickel. The answer isn't cobalt. The answer isn't chromium. It would essentially just have to be vanadium. So hopefully there's an option somewhere that would be vanadium OH 2 6 2 plus. Otherwise, there's basically just an error. There is an error / problem with the question. Yeah, it should be vanadium. And the reason for that is that vanadium's neutral vanadium has an argon shell. It's 3d3, 4s2. So vanadium 2 plus is an argon shell, 3d3. There you go. You don't have a correct answer to choose from because I think the app that you're answering questions on has a bug.